Brothers and sisters, Mrs. and Misters, welcome back to another episode of the Dented Cast, where we explore deep subjects and hopefully have a happy ending. My name is Dobie Maxwell. My cohort, Max Bumgardner, is with us today as we go through the alphabet, as we tend to do, is the C word. We've had a couple of C words. Today's C word, courage. Believe it or not, dented cans have to show courage sometimes whether they want to or not.
How have you faced yours, or have you fully faced yours yet?
You know, a lot of times that's really hard with a dented can is you don't know who to trust. It's supposed to be your parents or maybe your siblings or even your spouse, and they mock you and they won't let you go there. You're going to do that, and they say the worst thing. They throw gasoline on the fire. So I think we have to be self-reliant by nature, and I have always been, and I'm like, boy, you know, I want the best life for myself, so I am willing to go in that fire zone and to face my deepest fear when a lot of people won't, you know, to ask a person out. You know, that can be the hardest thing. No, you're putting your emotions. I care for this person. Boy, I really like to be together. What do I have to do? You know, I have to walk across the room at a school dance, or do I have to at a bar, whatever it is? And you go up there and hi, I'd like to, and just, you know, you're not my type. Get away from me. Blah blah. What's the worst possible thing that can happen? And I think we've all experienced that. Have you? The worst rejection.
No, I'm a closer every time.
Every closer. Studley Max, he's going to tell you right down there.
No, of course we have. That's called
that
rejection.
chain wallet with the $100 bills hanging out. It is rejection. And what I have found is the worst possible rejection. Not that bad.
It's not.
It really isn't. And I think if you can get over that was so hard for me to do that. And to me, a lot of times people, they take comedy classes because they want to be comedians and get attention. And I understand that. So I walk them through as a teacher. And it's like Tony Robbins walking people across the fiery coals. And they'll come up after the first show. It's the greatest experience of my life. And I was so afraid. Just a little push over that builds that courage. And I think it starts step by step. You can't just go and slay the lion right away. You got to work your way up to it. So something little that's courageous. Maybe it's just not even ask somebody out. I can't think of an example, but just to tell somebody, you know what? I really like that shirt you're wearing. I think not yours, but I mean, usually somebody's shirt. You know what I'm saying? Something little, something courage that maybe even a total stranger, and sometimes that can be, what do you think, I'm a jerk? Blah, blah, blah. Well, if you're going to tell somebody nice, why would they not want to hear that?
Well, I think it takes courage to face your own demons.
Yes.
And I knew and still know I'm more in touch now with everything that's wrong with me and the things that I have done to other people than I ever have been in my life.
Welcome to the club. We've all seen it. No, I'm kidding.
Seriously,
you, man.
I really have. Well, but it's true.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
And did you shrivel up and die?
No, I feel way better.
Yes.
I feel like
that's the point.
I feel like when you claim it, and that's another thing, that when you have courage to apologize to somebody, we did one on apologies, had a couple of great comments on that, people talking about that. Apologizing takes courage.
Courage to me means moving over through your fears for the purpose of greater good.
I think that's fairly close. I think you probably nailed it. In spite of the fear, taking action.
Taking action anyway, even though it's not comfortable.
Right.
And I think the more you can do that to start out little, it's easier to get bigger things.
There was an episode of a talk show that's no longer on television that I was watching, and this guy was, the episode was about something called emotional torture. And this guy was kind of just a real jerk to his wife on this show. And I was on the treadmill. This is when we worked together in Chicago. I was on the treadmill watching it on TiVo at the time, and I had TiVo'd that particular show. I brought my wife down to where the treadmill was, that room, and said, hey, can I have you watch this show real quick? And she did, and I said, do you ever feel like her? And her eyes welled up, and she goes, yes. And I'm not kidding. I gave her a hug, and we shared a moment there together. And I just said, I need to change, because I'm still operating from the pain that I had as a child. I'm still treating my wife the way my dad treated my mother. What I hate most about my dad, I'm doing. That's when you know you have to do something, and that takes courage. I wrote that show an email. They figured out who I was because we were on the radio in this same town. And they called on the way to a soccer game, the producer of this show. This particular show, when we moved to the city, I told my wife, I'll take you so we can see that show because she loved the show. Little did we know we were going to be guests on the show twice. But I went ahead and called them. They said, would you like to be on the show? I said, I'll call you back. This producer, who I still am in contact with to this day. I asked my wife, and she said, yes, I would like to. So then, in front of 10.3 million people were the ratings on that episode, I bared my soul. And in that moment, I torched some relationships with lifelong friends and with some family members on both sides, hers and mine. It's never been the same since. What I can tell you is there was some bits of the show that were sensationalized because it's a TV show.
A TV show does that.
And even the host said, this particular host said, grabbed my hand, I'll never forget that, looked into my eyes and said, this is a little rough. Are you sure you're prepared for this? I knew what she was saying, and it was a little rough. And no, I wasn't prepared for it. Would I do that ever again? There's no way in hell I would do that again. I wouldn't even ask my wife if she wanted to. Instead, what I would do is I would get the help that I need and walk the walk. So go get the help that I need. And we've talked about this before, I've done a lot of tours of duty through therapists, psychiatrists, psychologists, groups, anger management, and nothing was more beneficial than that, getting it out there. And I still walk with that today, and I'm okay with that. I don't try to hide it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking about it right now.
Well, if I could come from another angle on that, as your radio partner and your friend first and your radio partner second and the other members of the show, we obviously saw it, and we weren't prepared for what direction that show was going to go. But I just want to tell you from an outsider's point of view that you didn't see, we respected the hell out of you, and I still do today, for having the courage to face it straight on. You didn't dilute it. You didn't back down. This is who I am. This is what I did, and I'm going to change and be a better person. So whether it didn't come out the right way, in the long run to us, you're the man.
And I'm not doing it for accolades.
I didn't want to bring that up, but I just wanted you to know, as a support thing, sometimes we tend to be so close to something, we see it, we're ultra sensitive. The good things are way bigger, and the bad things are unbelievable. When in fact, I think the perspective of the public is completely different.
We've had rough times since then. My wife and I.
Sure.
I'm
You're both humans.
But some of it I will take all on my own, that it's my fault. Mm-hmm. And some people are like, oh, don't. That's one of the things, and we don't have to get too far off on this, but that's one of the things that I don't like about our society and our world right now is the lack of accountability. Mm-hmm. Everybody's like, well, don't talk about fault. Yeah, you need to talk about fault.
Yeah, totally do.
Because if it's your responsibility that something went bad, that is a fault.
Is that not the first ingredient of healing?
I think
and reconciliation.
You have to be
yes.
courageous, like we're talking about.
Yeah, it's a big
and face your own bullshit.
That's the B word. This is the C word, courage. There's other C words as well, but it's a muscle. I think it can be developed and strengthened. So that's why I wanted to talk about it today. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you. What's the happy ending?
The happy ending is even schmucks like us can do it. So hopefully we'll set an example for you, because you're not a schmuck. And we're talking about I words, and we use that because my father, would call me all those things. So I just kind of I'll make it funny. It's like it's courage to have self-esteem. It is courage to make your life as good as it can be, and even to sit through our show. It's courageous that you will go out and hopefully take something from it. Like us if you do, not if you don't, and leave a comment one way or another. We appreciate you, and that's courageous.